Okay, Tom, what was your first connection to Rodborough? Your first connection to Rodborough?
Being born in the parish in 1917.
Okay, thank you. And which bit of the parish were you born in?
Spilman's Road area.
Okay. So have you lived in Rodborough all your life apart from the war?
Quite, yes.
And you've lived in Coronation Road since
1939, 45, about 1946.
What was your first impression or memory of Rodborough as you cast your mind back? Or some of your early ones?
Oh. Going to school, I suppose.
Yeah?
Yeah, going to school.
And where did you go to school?
At the time, Rodborough County Council School.
So on Rodborough Hill?
Rodborough Hill.
What was the traffic like then? Let's say
not a lot.
So
even horse and carts in those days.
And that would be, what, just after the First World War in the 1920s, would it?
Oh.
Or was it before the First World War?
No, after the First World War.
After the First World War.
Yeah.
And who was the head teacher there then?
I believe Boss Brown.
And what was Boss Brown like?
Well, a little shortish man. He did teach at the endowed school first, before the Rodborough School was built.
So, you once told me about the orchard and so on. Can you tell us about what what was it all like? You know, where the new houses are on down from King's Road. What was it like?
You mean in the Rodborough Fields?
Yeah, tell us. Yeah.
Well, we as children in those days, before the war, we used to, pre-1963, I think, was when they were started to be built. And we used to play out in Rodborough Field, play football. And the fields in those days, although they belonged to the church, was farmed by Farmer James. It was the milkman and distributor of milk in Rodborough.
All right. Was that? Did he have a horse and cart or?
Oh yes, horse and cart in those days.
Yeah. So those new houses went up in '63.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
I remember you telling me about the winter of '63 as well.
Very cold indeed.
And so there's a question here about how do you think Rodborough has changed over your time there? Well, it's changed in so many ways. So you just go for a few of them.
Oh dear.
Do you think the people? What about the people? Tell us about how you think the people have changed.
Well, it's a different type of person today. Life is spent differently. We used to go to church more often, and have social activities of which are not used these days.
So, would you think then that television and so on has...
Oh, I think that's made a great deal of difference to life.
Yeah.
And of course cars as well. No one really owned cars pre-war anyway. So this has all been built since those days.
I was told, I don't know if it's true, that in the street in which we live, you know, that two of those bungalows used to be, they were prefabs built after the war, and then they were built around. Is that true, or?
I don't recall that one bit.
No. Okay. Do you want to talk of any? I know you've got a very famous war record, and I know people don't always like to talk about it, but you give us a wee bit about that if you'd like to. You're into Rome, weren't you? In
Oh well, I was 22 years old when I was called up, conscripted, and I went to the 57th Heavy Training Regiment at Warminster in Wilts. I went to 22 Squad. I married my wife on the 22nd of June, and from then on I was conscripted to the 12th Royal Lancers Cavalry Regiment, of which we went overseas to Egypt, and I was in the conflict out there, 8th Army, and I finished up in the end at was it Chorus? No, not Chorus of North Africa anyway, and then across to Italy. From there we finished up at northern Italy when the Germans capitulated, and then I'd already then done 4 years, which I was entitled to come back to repatriation, and as how can I put it, the government's pleasure of being to serve them, they sent me over to Germany for another 6 months. After that I was demobbed, and that was it. So
and
that was about it.
Thank you, Tom. And is it then that you moved into Coronation Road?
It was, yes.
So I've lived next door to you now for about 5 or 6 years. So can you remember what did a house like that cost in 1946? Is it possible to remember?
In 1940.
Or 46, whenever you moved in. I wonder what it...
Well, it so happened that Mrs. Flowers, who lived there, gave Marion and I apartments. Well, we paid for it, of course. And Mrs. Cox, who owned the property, she lived in Lightpill. Her son was in Rhodesia, and he wanted her to go out to live with him. Anyway, it turned out that she wanted to sell the property,